Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 71, now at full power with all three members. Yes, we are feature complete today, let's say. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. I don't know. Curtis has still got some vacation brain, I think, but we'll see. We'll see. There he goes with the cup at the start. There we go. See, vacation brain. Anyways, this is what we're now calling, we did a little bit of rewriting, we're doing some rebranding, the Independent Musician's Guide to Navigating the Dynamic Landscape of Production and Promotion. Today, we're talking all about the new Twitter competitor, Threads. That's by Meta or Instagram, Facebook, however you want to call them. And that was a request by our patrons, and this show is brought to you by our patrons. If you want bonus content, requests, tips, tricks, hangouts, head to patreon.com/audionautic. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. Yeah.
Yes.
It's nice. Back in the seat. Yeah. Fully back in. Yeah, there is a little bit of holiday brain, but it is good. It's nice.
No, it's okay. I'm just, I've missed teasing you, so I had to just start right out the bat. Also with us today is Eon Lake. How are you? And what was that?
Okay. Nothing broken here.
I think the cats are causing chaos.
Definitely Steve. Yeah.
Steve.
Come on.
He's mad he missed last
We
week.
talked about this, Steve. Come on.
It's all right. We'll stick to Eon Lake. Give me a second here.
Yeah.
I brought my stay-at-home brain with me today.
Oh, is that a good or bad thing?
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly say. I'll leave that up to...
Well, just from that slow response, it could be a bad thing. We'll see. We'll see. But Curtis, what are we up to today? What are we starting with?
We are going to go completely against the grain of what we normally do, and we're going to go straight to the Marketing Minute, where, as the title and your lovely introduction has given us, it's always nice. We're going to go straight in with the Marketing Minute. Yeah, Threads. While I came back to this notion that Threads is now a thing.
Yeah, you've missed quite a lot in just a week. It's kind of crazy.
You go away for camping for a week, and you come back to it, and there's a new social media. And it's like, what the hell, But anyway,
the real question we're talking today is it really new?
Well, okay,
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to get into. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with the Marketing Minute. We're going to start with the Threads. We have a bit of a breakdown, all the it down, and then
Can we do a high down, maybe? I don't know.
A mid down, and then we have some news and we have some round robin. But we'll get straight into it because that's what everyone else, our patrons here, everyone, Bendu, Abby.
Let me do this magic.
Oh yeah, that's it.
We got Bendu. We've got Shady Ridge, another patron enjoying the summer, taking a break from music. I always love that about Shady Ridge. We have an interview with him where we were talking about taking breaks, and I've actually tried to employ it. I mean, to the best I can, because I always want to be making music and stuff. But it really does. Even just taking a day away can really recontextualize things for you. We've also got Lars in the chat, and we've got our label mate and patron FCC.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, FCC? You working on some new tunes? Let us know. And we've also got Abby, who is unfortunately stuck in a meeting, but we appreciate you being here nonetheless. I'm going to shut off this little banner. You all know what we're talking about now.
And, with us, her team.
Yeah,
exactly. It's nice to see. So yeah, everyone here is our patron, and thank you ever so much for joining us. As we go into the show, if you are new to the show and you haven't seen it before, this show is brought to us and carries on going because of our patrons. There's so much going on because of our patrons, and we thank you ever so much. So yeah, we can talk about more about that later. But for now, hang on, where is my banner? I am a bit out of whack.
I know, that's why I had you covered with the intro one. I got you covered. Don't worry. While you do that, let me just mention this is funny. FCC says Threads was a post-apocalyptic TV series from the 80s in the UK, so can't quite get over the name Threads. Does that ring a bell, Eon Lake?
No, but then, things that happened before 2 weeks ago really do with me.
There we go. I was reading something that Threads was actually a previous name of an Instagram message app, and they just deleted it after a year or two, and then now they've rolled out this new Threads. It's actually in, I'll be talking about it, but it's actually in this. I feel so old school. I found this newspaper from my in-laws, and it's got Q&A all about Threads, but one of the things they talked about was that it was a message thing from Instagram like a couple years ago, and they just deleted it, tried to make everyone forget, and then they're like, here's Threads all over again.
Cynical.
Well, I,
Surely.
I mean, I like the notion of it. I mean,
that we were delaying for.
I mean, it's on Slack.
Hold on, Curtis. Did you find the banner?
Did I find the banner? Yes, I have it here.
The whole point, my friend, of this
There it is.
random tangent.
There we go.
Now carry on. What were you going to say off
I got
topic?
completely distracted by your short story about your in-laws, and I was just like, "Oh, that's a lovely story," and completely forgot that whole
The
point
perks
of that.
of
so I
living
could
next
find the
door
banner.
is you could get newspapers, right?
Yeah.
That talk
I mean,
about threads. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the word thread is like quite common in it. Like, you get it on Slack and you get it on Reddit and stuff like that. You got threads and that kind of thing. So I feel like they're kind of just
There's even a thing on this one very unknown website called Twitter where they do threads. I don't know. Maybe you haven't heard of it.
I haven't.
I've
What's
never
Twitter?
got on.
Yeah.
No
What
idea.
is what is? I don't know. I just heard somebody mentioning it once or something.
Anyway, okay. So we do have this deep dive. We do have this kind of like way we're going to go through it. We're going to introduce it. We're going to talk about it. We've got some news from Missouri himself. We're going to walk through the app. We're going to talk about ways in which we can utilize it, whether it's going to be useful or anything like that. And so
Yeah, the main thing, as you saw in the title, is that we want to talk about this from the independent musician's perspective. Like, how can we use it? Should we use it? Is it worth using? We want to hear from all of you in the chat, in the comments. If you're watching back, if you're listening or watching on Spotify, let us know in the question that's there. Have you used it? Have you tried it? Has it been useful? I asked the question on Threads to see, but I've noticed some weird stuff with Threads. We'll get into that at the end. We'll talk our anecdotal stuff. But first, Curtis, do you want to give a brief rundown of like what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's well, it's what's to say. It's in the sense of it's basically a Twitter with different fonts and different icons, essentially. It's a platform based on your Instagram profile, which then turns it over, and instead of sharing video content, you're sharing words and sharing messages. And you've got a character limit of, I believe, 500. You've got
Correct.
a character limit of 500 characters, which is fine. So you can do double the amount of tweeting, pretty much. And that's what it is. And it's a way to verbally diarrhea what you're doing as an independent musician.
That's so eloquent.
Yeah, exactly.
So eloquent. I do just. Oh, go ahead, Ian. Like,
what about media attachments and
you
so
can
on?
you can attach media. You can do links, but we'll talk about it. Everything on this site is new. So algorithm wise, does it work? Doesn't it? With all these different things, it's still being figured out. Just really quick. Meta, according to Meta themselves, they call this a new separate space for real-time updates and public conversations. It's available in 100 countries on Apple and Android stores, but it is not available in the EU due to regulatory concerns. And I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay. Yes, very much there. Okay, that's there. However, I am currently in the Czech Republic, and
there's a workaround.
Oh, is that the workaround?
Well, I thought, aren't you using a workaround? Don't you have a VPN or something?
No, literally, I just downloaded it off the App Store.
Well, maybe they changed it, but they've claimed that they have no plans to launch it. They told on July 7th in this newspaper, which is a couple days ago, Meta informed Ireland's Data Privacy Commission that it has no plans yet to launch Thread in the EU. And then they said that that's partly probably due to EU strict data privacy rules.
GDPR.
Well, if they're PR and if their understanding and declaration of what they're going to do is anything akin to the algorithm, then maybe it's not so reliable. But we'll get into that later. Being in the EU, I basically downloaded the app on the Play Store. I have an Android phone, downloaded it, attached by my phone. The app itself found my Instagram account and then just added it, and then instantly requested to follow all of my existing followers on Instagram. That is there, and that's what.
Yeah, and that applies to anyone. So the interesting thing, I guess you could call it cool, is if you have Instagram, when you connect to Threads, it pops up with a window that just shows everyone you follow that also has made a thread, and you can just hit follow, which is cool. But I've also noticed that despite that, a lot of followers don't seem to be seeing the thread posts you're making and things like that. I don't know if people are just making thread accounts and then not going on it. You know, they're just like, oh, it's a new app and they make it. But it was something interesting I've noticed. I don't know, Curtis, if you've noticed that. Though that does bring up some of the stuff that we'll talk about that Adam Mosseri is saying.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else you want to cover before we go to that?
Well, I just, in a similar fashion, just from my own usage, obviously, I downloaded this on Monday and we're now on Wednesday. Been using it a lot less than you because I've obviously been away. But I clicked on it. I've downloaded it Monday. And then on Tuesday, I was like, oh yeah, there's this app. And so, yes, there was a little bit of a shake. And I've worked out that my first couple of threads or my first couple of you don't call it a tweet, what would you call it? My
thread.
first couple,
I think a thread.
You literally call it a thread. Okay, my first
I think so. I don't know. Thread, post.
People in the chat, what would you call it? Let us know. I mean,
quote, not tweet.
Anyway, we put a couple out there. Your first couple got quite a few hits and kind of see it, and then a couple more. It seems to be time dependent right now. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail later, but it's there and it works.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've made different post types to kind of test things out. And the one that was the most successful was literally just the thread emoji.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really? I tried a video with no link. I tried a link. I tried a video with a link. And I tried, I just recently posted one asking for musicians and producers' perspective on threads that we'll talk about at the end of this session. I think something that we should note, I mean, we already kind of talked about, but this is a brand new app. And that's kind of good and bad. I think just it's interesting because we're kind of at the start of this app. So it's cool in that way where we're seeing what it is. Everybody's kind of new, but the algorithm hasn't really figured it out. Nobody really knows what it's for yet. It's still being figured out. So I think that's something to keep in mind with all of these posts we're making to see what works, what doesn't. It's a new thing, and it seems very much like Twitter. It's very much like Twitter, but it may not be that. You know, it's still kind of being figured out.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm still kind of in that mindset where maybe that's just me, but I'm in that kind of thing where it's like, we see a lot of these new social medias come up and we see a lot of these new ones that are born and incarnated. And in my head, just because it's meta doesn't mean anything. And I think it might just kind of go away.
Well, don't forget Threads version 1 that I mentioned came and went, and so yeah.
Exactly. But okay, so that's kind of where we're at as a baseline. This is what it is. This is what it's doing. It's new, and we're kind of exploring. We'll go with it.
I think I lost you there. You there, Curtis? We lost you for a second.
Hello. Hey.
Yep, you're there. We got you.
I'd really like to keep you doing that for a bit.
Yeah, I know. I should have shut my mouth. Yeah, just keep going. This is more interesting than Threads, honestly.
Welcome back, everyone. It's lovely to be here. I've got the tweet. I know, not the tweets. I've got the threads from Mosseri. Do you want to put that in?
Don't tell Adam that you've got the tweets. So we had talked about this in the Patron groups, the Twitter group, about that Threads is very bare bones and missing things. And then I saw these threads, whatever you want to call it, from Adam Mosseri, the Instagram head, talking about this. And he said, with so many people joining Threads so fast, these last 6 days, the team has been entirely focused on keeping the lights on and fixing bugs. But we're starting to prioritize the obvious missing features like a following feed, the edit button, and post search. We're clearly way out over our skis on this, but the team is pumped to start shipping improvements this week. And there's a thread emoji, so it'll get a lot of traction because of the thread. Yeah. Can you go to the second one real quick? All right, second one. So I think this was actually the earlier one. I put these out of order, but it doesn't matter.
I did probably.
No, I put them in, so it was me. Trust me. I wouldn't take the credit, but I will this time. 100 million people signed up for Threads in 5 days. I'm not sure I can wrap my mind around the fact. It's insane. I can't make sense of it. Here's the part. The team has been busting their ass, but we know this is a race to the starting line. They say, make it work, make it great, make it grow. Well, we certainly did things out of order, but I promise we will make this thing great. So what I wanted to bring up, like I was saying, this is very early in development, and it's missing a lot of key features. And I mean, this is just my own thinking, but it really seems like there's a lot of negativity and talk around Twitter right now, and new apps that are coming up like Blue Sky, Mastodon, things. I know Mastodon's been around for a little bit, but like apps that are kind of competitors. And I think, me personally, I feel like they felt this was a perfect time to get like goodwill by releasing it, and so put it up way before it was ready. And it's just very interesting how kind of bare bones it is. And yeah, the engagement just seems off. Like all kinds of stuff seems a little off about it. So yeah, we've got Ian Lake asked a really good question in the chat. He was asking if anybody's using this yet, and Frequency Control Center says not yet. Lars says yes, but I'm not too impressed. I echo that sentiment.
Mhm.
And Shady Ridge says not yet. So yeah. But Ian, like what do you think? Have you opened this app at all yet?
Well, no, I'm in Europe, which is European for Europe. And yeah, apparently they're having to chew on what the implications of European regulations about data and data retention and so on are going to be before. It sounds like they are planning to release it here, but they haven't. It's another little feature that they haven't worked out in my region, is how it sort of fits in with that law thing. That we got laws here.
Yeah. Can I add a little context from this? This is the OC register that I have.
Yeah.
But they have an interesting part here. One of the questions is, what are the privacy concerns? And they say threads could collect a wide range of personal information, including health, financial, contacts, browsing and search history, location data, purchases, and quote sensitive information, end quote, according to its data privacy disclosure on the App Store. So it sounds like
the problem might be then.
Yeah. Again, this is what a newspaper is saying, and this paper is from July 7th, which I don't even know what day it is. It's the 12th, so it's a little dated, but
so in Europe, they have this thing called GDPR, and there are a lot of regulations about the data that you collect has to be specific to the purpose of the service being offered. It has to be no more than is required. It has to be kept for no longer than it's required. You have the right to correct. You have the right to delete. You have the right to be forgotten, and various things like that. And from that description, if it is that broad, that's going to be problematic, particularly in places like Germany, where they're just not going to put up with that. But to shelve all of that, I mean, coming at this from a musician's point of view, why do we want to use a social media platform? It's for reach, right? And if there isn't any reach, is there any reason to be doing it? I think you kind of touched on it a bit already, in the sense that there is a bit of an early adopter bonus in some cases, where you can do quite well in an algorithm if you're picking up on the newest feature that they're trying to push and so on. But I mean, there's also an argument that if it's not a fully formed thing and doesn't have an audience and all the rest of it, then to a certain point, to a certain extent, it doesn't have a use either, from our point of view.
I hear what you're saying. Basically, they're rolling out something before it's ready to be rolled out. Essentially,
I'm being quite upfront about it, which is in
I
equal amount refreshing and worrying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think also that they're kind of, I think they're guessing, or maybe a little bit off the mark, about people's warmth towards the idea of more social media platforms. I mean, it's true, there is a drive away from Twitter at the moment. People are getting fed up with it, and rightly so. But at the same time, they're not sort of any more friendly towards social media, and it's beginning to feel a lot like a chore.
Well, that's a good one of the chats from FCC that I actually missed earlier. He says, what we really need is a brand new social media platform to manage alongside the other 10. And that's a good point. And I Curtis, I think you had something to add to what Jan Lake was saying, but I just want to say one other thing, that this is owned by Meta, Facebook, Instagram, which is a company notorious for throttling artist and creative account exposure as soon as a honeymoon phase of something they roll out ends. And they make us pay for that exposure that we once got. It happened with Facebook pages. It happened with Instagram, just being a creator, artist, or a business account on Instagram. They push ads. Of course, they're a business. They want to make money and stuff, but they roll out these things which, the algorithm's so good, which it hasn't seemed to be yet, just to be fair. But they roll out these things, the algorithm seems great, and then they're like, oh, if you're a verified account that spends X amount a month, you get this much exposure, and if you do ads, you can reach this many people. I mean, my Facebook page, I don't really use it. It has 500 likes or something like that, and when I post something, it gets like 10 views, and then they say, oh, you can reach 500 people if you spend $30. And it's like, well, there's already 500 people that like it. So you're saying if I pay, I can reach who I like, or who likes my page? Like, yeah.
We got 500 people who want to see updates from you, and if you pay them money, they'll let them.
Yeah, basically.
Like, what?
Yeah. Curtis, did you have something you wanted to add?
I want to come back to what you were saying about rolling it out before it's ready, which I completely get and I understand. I think that on the one hand, there is a kind of like you say, like there's almost like a political move in the sense that obviously Twitter's having all its drama right now. Okay, so that's me. Okay, so since I'm really out of practice, I'm going to take a week off, and suddenly things happen.
So I had to lower my microphone, and it was going to be like making noise, and I was like, you don't need to see me fiddling with stuff.
That's fine. But okay, so what have we seen since Elon Musk took over Twitter? We've seen Twitter, and then we've seen drama of Twitter, right? Now, and that's become almost like a soap opera. What's Elon Musk going to do today? That kind of thing.
Rate limits.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
I don't think you were even here for that, were you? You were gone for the rate limit fiasco last week. Did you even? Yeah. You probably weren't even on Twitter.
No, I wasn't last week. No, but I digested everything when I came back.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
The point I'm making is, so on the one hand, this rolling this out early is a political move to kind of to undercut Twitter in their kind of dramatic days, right? Or they're getting in on the drama game, and they're building their own soap opera, and they're building their own drama where they're rolling this out, and it's still in development, and they're pulling everything. They're like, hey, they're giving updates, like, oh, we're going to do this today, we're going to do that today, we're going to do this. Come along for the ride, which is not too different to kind of
like building a sort of community around it, like, hey, we're the underdog here, right?
Yeah,
like, help us make this better and be involved. Yeah, I mean, psychologically, that.
Except they're anything but the underdog, but yeah.
Right. But it gives the impression because it's like, oh, we're working hard,
And this is Meta are they're huge. Their PR system and their marketing budget and people and everything are probably the best in the world. There's no way that they would push. I don't believe that they would push this out without thinking about it. I think that would be pretty stupid. They're rolling it out. They're rolling it out early, and then what they're doing is they're using that to kind of create more drama, because now it's not about using the social media, it's about the drama surrounding the social media. It's free PR, and
so we kind of all have a different viewpoint there, because I kind of feel like they did it to catch on this trend right now of like, we need to get off of Twitter, here we go. But I see what you're saying. It also works in the favor of like, hey, it's new, we're making it with you, like we're rolling it out, help us make it better, like be a part of it, join, and this and that.
Hang on. I'm getting a vision coming through. It's a boardroom. It's a PowerPoint presentation. 3 dots on it.
Community involvement.
Exactly. Yeah. It's probably all those things.
I think you're right. Or at least it started as one and then slowly spitballed, or it enveloped into all of these sorts of things. Like,
I think there might be another dot on the bottom that said, they've seen what Elon did and said we could do better than that without a run-up.
Yeah. It's possible.
I think all of these things, to a certain extent, to greater and lesser degrees, are probably motivating factors. And I think if you are going to launch a new one, I suppose now has to be the time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we have given, I guess, a bit of our opinion and topic, or on the topic, but I think we should do a quick walkthrough of what the actual app looks like in its current state. And today, again, I already forgot what the date is. It's July 12th.
Let's have a look at it on the internet.
Yeah, it's July 12th, so things may be changing quickly because they're saying they're going to roll out updates. I don't believe, and I think the patrons had mentioned this, I don't think there's been any app update as of yet. And I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems, I mean, I'm sure they're doing bug fixes and things like that, but it doesn't seem like there's been anything groundbreaking. Hashtags don't even work, things like that. So Curtis took a little screen recording of what's going on, and we'll just show it real quick just so you can kind of see. It seems like there's actually no desktop site yet. You can view an account, like a profile on there, and see the interactions and stuff, but you can't actually go to, it seems like a Threads page, like a Threads for you page or something, which is another thing they probably need to add soon. Curtis, you have the video, correct?
Yeah, I'll put it up here so we can just see, and then
now this is vertical, so it's gonna look. Yeah, it will. Poor Eon Lake.
Hang on.
So yeah, this is Threads. You can see it. I wonder how many of these people are you even following? Probably not many.
They're all. That's the thing. They're all people who I follow on Instagram.
Oh, all of these, because I have a lot that I don't follow that just pop up. And here you go. He's starting a thread, and he's making one. Eon Lake's pointing to him typing. Thank you, Eon Lake. That's very helpful. So that he just makes a post. You can see that little link that it showed. That's, or that little paperclip. That's where you can put a video, a photo, anything like that. And then you can put links. Links work, like a hyperlink or whatever. But I don't know if it really helps with the algorithm there. So yeah. And again, these are all things that are still being worked out. It's just very early days for this website, or for this app, I should say. Any other context you want to add to it, Curtis or Eon Lake, besides, pointing?
I was just thinking that I cannot think of another.
Wait, you were thinking you can't think?
Yeah, I can't think of a big thing.
They got you, man. Just consume product.
Put a giant social media app over my face. I can't think. No, I can't think of a company or anyone who's launched a product this half-baked since, those breadsticks you can get that are half-baked, and you finish them up in the oven. On top of everything that we said, maybe it's a stroke of marketing genius, but also maybe it's a complete absence of product control, quality control, and marketing. I don't know. It's really odd in that respect.
So in terms of food, we've got Threads as the easy oven bake breadstick. What would you call Instagram, Eon Lake?
Instagram,
like a microwave.
Those shrinking things you used to get years ago, where it starts out big and you put it in the oven and it shrinks to something smaller, and it's like, hey, look.
And like TikTok, what's that? Like just a piece of candy?
Yeah, it's a piece of candy that once you eat it, it climbs up into your brain and takes all the information in there and transmits it to somebody really nefarious.
Oh, geez. That got dark real quick. Oh, that got dark.
I've missed you, Eon Lake. It's been a long week for that. Yeah, it's been a long week.
I think maybe we are vibing a little bit, all being together again.
It's nice. It's nice.
But we do have, so after all of this, I guess, I don't know if we'd call it negative talk about it. We do have some ways that we feel you could use it, should you want to use it, to incorporate it into your music for community building, for promotion, for anything like that. If you're looking for another social media platform, and even if you're not, there is one thing, and that's the first topic I'll bring up, that you can use it, and we've talked about this before, is lemonize your promotion. So if you have a video you made on YouTube or a live stream, and you cut a vertical clip of it to be posted to TikTok, to YouTube Shorts, to Instagram Reels, just put it on there. All we're saying is just reuse content from other socials and take the maybe 5 seconds to copy, paste, and post. If you want to be on the site, it is early days, so it might be worth it. Curtis can talk more about that in a little bit. And then the other one that I can think of is you could use this as more of a thought or text-based site, where you could kind of do more of ideas you're thinking of, behind the scenes type of stuff, talking about maybe production woes, or like Curtis was having trouble with his webcam. He could maybe talk like, this webcam is not working, blah, 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 just to kind of have a different view of you, so to speak, something to
different purposes.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to spend more time on another site, which I don't think most of us or the patrons do, but someone watching may want to. And so I just wanted to bring that up. There is that way of use it for a different purpose, so that there's a reason to go on it for you. Curtis, you have a couple. Do you want to care to share those?
Yeah. So we have, like you said, we've got the lemonizing, which I feel we're becoming a thing. We're pioneering. We just another T-shirt lemonize.
Maybe we're just trying, but I like it. I think it works. It makes sense. Just squeeze out all you can from a single piece of content.
Exactly. I think one of the key things that sprung to my mind while I was using it is this notion of the potential growth of it, right? Because it is going to grow. I mean, and then it's going to decide that it wants to be a video-based platform, and then it will compete with itself, and then it will just implode. But then what I like, for example, you see on Twitter, for example, communities, which has gone kind of okay, and then you've got that kind of like voice community, voice broadcast. That's what it is, isn't it? These potential things are there, right? But then having that integrated with your already traditional Instagram, that kind of meshing those two together on one feed, perhaps, that kind of thing. So Instagram is, in my opinion, one of the better social medias for independent musicians, purely because of the visual aspect of it. I know a lot of people like Twitter. I personally just use Instagram because I like a lot of photos. I like taking photos.
I thought you were all about TikTok, honestly.
I was. I mean, only in my second life. So, but yeah. So these, if you're into Instagram this way, kind of that potential integration moving forward could be really useful should it come that way. That was kind of where I was getting of it as well, which also allows for things like batching content. And we talk about lemonizing content, and we talk about batching content. Right? Okay. So instead of putting all your content in all different places, just sending it to one place so it goes everywhere. That's also quite useful if you want to spend less time on social media. As well as that is early access in a way, or what's it called? Like
early adoption.
Early adoption.
You're in it at the start.
Yeah. So there's the potential for your content to be seen by more people. So theoretically, when they work out the algorithm, you have this notion where you can be seen by more people, or because you're an early adopter, you might get more of the funneled kind of interaction with people, and therefore you would grow bigger and better as a result, which we have seen people do. I mean, the TikTok star is now classic, people who are early adopters of TikTok. PewDiePie, who was an early adopter of YouTube, is now was one of the biggest YouTube stars ever, that kind of thing. And before everyone comes to it and before it's swamped, you can do that. So,
yeah,
exactly. That's what sprung to mind with that from me.
Yeah, do you have anything? But that's all really good, Curtis.
Yeah,
You're totally right.
Definitely. And maybe it is just worth a punt, just on the fact that it's new, it could take off. I wonder over time how it's going to differentiate itself from Instagram. I'm thinking about this not as a casual user of social media, but for someone who it's supposed to be a tool.
Oh, I think we lost you there. I lost you, Eon Lake. Are you still there? Oh, that's a great freeze frame, actually. Hold on.
Everything went missing for a bit.
There we go. Yeah. I zoomed in on your freeze frame for a second so everyone could see your focus.
Ah, right. Yes. So yeah, what was I saying?
Well, while you think of that, compose your thoughts. I want to bring up this comment from Lars. He says the initial launch of the first Destiny was roughly the same amount of half-baked. Are you referring to the video game by Bungie, Destiny? Because that was half-baked. That was an interesting time, but they turned that one around, at least until Destiny 2. But maybe people disagree with me. I lost interest with the second one, but let me know if that's what you're talking about. Anyways, Eon, do you have your thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking over time, how's it going to differentiate itself from Instagram itself as a tool for somebody who's a creator as opposed to a casual user? A tool is supposed to be something that's easy to use, that gives you some sort of functionality or some sort of reach, enables you to do something easier. Or, is it a watering down of a product to sort of, or on the third hand, is it something that's going to need to be folded back into Instagram to turn it into a whole different platform there?
That does bring up something I wanted to mention. Stop me if I did mention this already, but a patron brought this up. that if you make a Threads account, you cannot delete it unless you delete your Instagram account. So just keep that in mind.
That's dystopian.
Interesting. It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, maybe that plays into the whole half-baked rollout. Is they just threw it together and didn't have all of this.
Yeah, and I
back-end.
think the thing is, I mean, it's fair to say that as a musician or a producer or a content creator in general, I think that your attitude to whether or not this is a good thing is going to be a decision. And it's going to be a decision based on a number of different factors as well. How much of a pain it is, maybe even on the data side versus what it gives you, you know. So really, I think everyone's going to be weighing it up for themselves, whether or not they fancy taking on, you know, a new social media versus, you know, the potential gains of doing so. So I think really for the people listening, we probably just want to call out all the potential pros and cons so that they can make a better decision themselves. But ultimately, that's what it's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and honestly, especially as all these new ones keep rolling out and the user bases get divided and things like that, I personally think it's best to focus on one or two and really spend your time or what time you allot to just that one. And then if you want, like what Curtis and I do with the lemonizing, just post that, even if it's not proper for that site or something, you know, like if it's not video based, the website's not video based or something, who cares? Just post it there. So it's there. You have a presence. So anybody that does want to follow you does, and you don't really have to worry about it. And like Survey Channel in the comments, not Threads, is saying Threads may be the final nail in my social media coffin. So yeah.
No.
Yeah, I agree. And even Lars says, don't leave us. But I mean, that's like my thinking. I've been taking less and less time on social media, and maybe that's not the best way to use social media if you're trying to grow on there or something, but post, take a minute to respond to comments. If you take maybe 5 minutes every other day to just view the people that you're friends with, or, you know, the hashtags you follow, whatever, though Threads, there are no hashtags, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just do that very minimum and then move on. At least you're covering that ground if you can stomach even that much. And if not, then maybe just use something like, I think it's Later, where you could just post everything on that and never have to interact. You know, you can still have a presence without being very present. And again, it won't be the best performance because of that, but you know, it's just a middle ground if you don't want to completely just leave from it.
Well,
Curtis, you're deep in thought there.
Well, I'm trying to think of best practices in terms of where this can take us. Now, personally, I like the text-based medium, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to use Twitter a lot back in the day, and then Instagram came along, and I moved to Instagram because photos, it's shiny, you know. But since starting Audionautic and taking Curtis more seriously, I've kind of gone back to Twitter, and I kind of hedge between the two now, mostly on Instagram, but also a bit of Twitter. And I like the notion that I can now do a text-based thing on Instagram. Basically, this is just text-based Instagram. I like
Instagram.
Yeah. I like that. You know, I think the potential is there. The UI for Instagram I much prefer over Twitter anyway, and I'm more inclined to go and do that right now in its inception with the algorithm the way it is, and the fact that I'm having again to kind of do all that kind of. Yeah, you have to do all that stuff in order to kind of get anywhere. I'll be like, I'll wait for you to sort out the algorithm, but it doesn't mean the potentiality is not there. That's where I'm kind of sitting in that regard.
Definitely. I was just talking if you're more on that, I don't need another social media platform or something. There are ways, if you think it's important you're on there, to kind of use it without being on it all that much. But yeah, it's interesting. And that's the thing. Like, I don't really like the text-based. I'm much more of like, I make videos. I like to share those of like performance and stuff like that. So that's it. Like when I first opened Threads, I was like, I can't think of a single thing to say, you know, like what. So I just posted a video of a jam or something, and I was like, this is who I am, and that's what I'm going to be on there. Like, I'm going to be authentic to myself, not what I think some social media platform wants or whatever, because I don't care. Like, I just want to be on there to see what it's like and to let all of you on ADSN know. But, you know, it's always good to be who you are on it. So, yeah.
Always. And I think that's what comes down to the crux. I think that's a really good point to make, and a really good point that should go further. Like, this is a tool. Like we keep saying, this is a tool, and it's there is a trap and a temptation to start playing another game, another algorithmic game, so to speak. But truly, the only thing that matters is the authentic expression of oneself on social media. That's what I really like about Asef Stripe on Twitter. It's the way he talks. It's not always related to his music or what he's up to or anything like that. It's just his musings on the day to day, and that's incredibly authentic and it's incredibly warming, I suppose. And the notion of not getting trapped in that social, I empathize with what Survey Channel said about it being a final nail in the coffin for social media. It's another one. Is it going to stop me from just being who I am on social media? No, not at all. Does it mean that I have to? Again, sort of going down that rabbit hole of, okay, I share my music and I share my videos and stuff on Instagram itself, but I've got a lot in my head, at least. I think I have some pretty good ideas about things and other things, and so that gives me a platform to do that, and there is an aspect, an avenue, and that is just going to be me. Sometimes it's like I say, sometimes Steve threw up again after eating breakfast yesterday. Oh, that was funny, kind of thing. And
he eats too quick. Yeah,
he does. He eats too quick. He eats far too quick, bro.
That's what my dog does too, Obi.
Feral animals.
They just scarf it down, and then they're like, "Wait, why am I throwing it back up?"
Feral animals will always be feral. But yeah, so this is again. I think it is a good opportunity to find one's authentic expression through another medium, and I think that's really important, especially when it comes to as we're moving into kind of like a post social media world, in that sense, where authentic expression is the only form of expression that will be acceptable. Playing the algorithmic game, I think more and more people are seeing through it. So I think this is a good opportunity to reassess what people want to say and how that can both allow you to express yourself and then coming back reinforce your personal brand, so to speak.
Yeah, the other thing too with this chasing the algorithm is it worth it? Because what are those people? They're just clicking on a video that's recommended to them, and then they like it and they go past it. I've had a video that we did with Audionautic about the Bruja Hazer app, that noise app, and every day it gets like 50 to 100 likes, and I've maybe gotten. What's that?
We went viral for the first time.
Yeah, and it's maybe gotten 15, 20 followers, and I don't think any of those have been people who have become fans or anything like that. Like, is it worth it? I don't think so. And I'm not trying to chase that, like, oh, I got to make a video just like that again, because you never even know if a video will get on it again. It's all just a luck thing, but it doesn't really amount to anything. The real point is to actually make true connections, like what I made with Curtis and Eon Lake. Like, we met through the internet. Eon Lake, I forget exactly how we came. I think it was just through, Twitter shares and stuff, and we messaged with Eon as a guest on the early Audionautic.
Lightspeed, God rest his soul.
But Curtis and I met through hashtags on Instagram, like, hashtag live performance, because he was doing those GoPro videos, which I really miss and still hate that he stopped doing them. And then I was doing like jam videos and stuff. And then we started collabing and all that. So it's like, that's what really matters. And beyond just friendships, it's like making true connections as fan and artists, things like that. Like, that's what you want to build. So yeah. Survey Channel, you're right. He says you can deactivate it. You can't delete it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Without deleting your Instagram account. Sorry if I said deactivate earlier. I did mean delete. So thank you if that's a good correction if I made that mistake. Anything else? There's one thing other that I want to share, but anything else from you guys?
Well, I mean, at risk of straying too far into the round robin, I don't know. We've strayed. It's fine. Yeah. I made a decision a while ago that I'm kind of not going as far as Survey Channels. Kind of, I'm done with social media. I'm done playing that algorithmic game. So like making a thumbnail, for example, which has always got my face on, for example, or having like those quick keyword searches and stuff like that. I'm less interested in that. It works, and we do it to a degree with Audionautic because that's kind of, it fits that niche. But what I do with my stuff on my live streams and with my work, it doesn't really fit that, and I'm okay with that. So like the thumbnail I made for my live stream that I'm going to do after the show, it's just this little trippy thing that I made, and it's art. It's just art, and it's not going to fit any algorithms. It'll probably be seen by 6 people, and that's okay. I'm quite happy with that. You know, I'm just kind of moving into that kind of game, I suppose, if that makes it, if you want to call that a game. And I think with Threads coming in, to link that back to Threads, I think that's kind of like, that feels like a right decision for me to do for now. I don't know if it'll always be the case. Maybe if I do this full time again, maybe that'll be a different shout. But Threads has given me the ability, or the idea that, you know, I don't have to just talk about my music. I don't have to just kind of promote my music. I can interact with the community in something different. You know, I can talk about other things and talk about the things that I enjoy. It doesn't have to necessarily be all about that kind of thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I was thinking as you were saying that I mean, if you're looking for people who will be interested in what you do because of, you know, it's unique to you, then why would you not put all the effort that you can into being as authentic as you can? Because it's your only real selling point, is the fact, you know, that you are you, and your unique blend of interests, tastes, whatever is, you know, your unique selling point. So yeah, I mean, you can try and be like other things and try and be popular, or you can just try and do things your own way. But to my mind, all the great creators and so on, some of their greatness is to do with the fact that they just do things their own way, because that's what they want to do. And that's what I like about them, you know. So why not?
Why not?
The worst that could happen is no one's interested. But I mean, we're doing this for love, not for props.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Is there any more on that? I'd like to know what the community think, what people in the chat are thinking, people watching back on Spotify and Apple Music, where there are more people every week. It's really exciting.
If you are listening, leave a like if you got some value, or a star rating, whatever you want to call it, on your listening platform. It helps a ton. So if you got some value, do that. If you're watching live and you're getting some value, or watching this back on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. It helps a ton. We're always trying to reach new eyes and ears.
Yeah, very much so.
I do have one thing I want to share, though. I posted a thread. I guess that's what you call it, a thread, right? I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that.
So I posted a thread asking musicians and producers on Threads how they've been using Threads, and if it's become a fixture in their sort of social media presence. And I think, did you have it pulled up, Curtis? Yeah, you do, right? That's that. Okay. So we've got a couple. So Richard Griffith's Music says, so far it's been just as useful as Twitter, which I haven't been able to respond to any of these yet. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Like that could go either way, in my opinion. Like, if Twitter's not working for you, and then it's as useful as Twitter, and that it's not. If it is, then it is.
Yeah,
and,
potential for sarcasm there, but it's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, and that's the issue with text-based stuff, I suppose. Yeah. Right? Is that there's no like little sarcastic thing at the end saying like, haha, or something. And then Lars, who's actually in the green room with his Fringes account, said, posting here regularly, but it needs a lot of work. That's our take on Threads. Let us know in the comments in the chat what you're thinking about it. Have you been using it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? But now we are back to a little bit of gear news. We can't go an episode without gear news, and Curtis brought this one to the table, so I'll let him intro it and talk about it.
Yeah. So we all know that we all know how Behringer enjoy making clones, and this is interesting because Behringer have made a piece of gear which actually is a clone of multiple synthesizers all in one, just in case you didn't have enough clonage already. Really interesting. So they've got this is the BX700, which is a drum machine, and it's mini synth, and the
let me share it. Sorry, I didn't see it popped it up there.
It's okay. It's absolutely okay.
Just scroll up real quick so we can see the actual picture. Yeah,
I mean, that aesthetic. It's kind of lush, isn't it? It's kind of nice.
That keyboard reminds me of the is it the Micro Freak?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, so you can see they've got the keyboard involved, and they've got the step sequencer in there as well, which I find quite interesting. Yeah, it's kind of nice in that regard. But it's a clone. They've got it's got the based on the DX7 and the CX and the CX. Yeah. and it's basically 3 synthesizers in one, essentially. It's not released yet. This is what they're going for. It's a DX7 on steroids. It's got a CS80 analog filter and a drum machine built in. So drum machine, DX7 and a CX80, which again, another clone from Behringer, which Sunwarp and I were having a very rather intense discussion about it last week. No, on Monday, not even last week, on Monday, about this kind of market of low-end synthesizers coming in, because no one else is doing it in that regard. And I did like it for this sound. We got this one comment from this guy called Larude here. They've run out of synths to rip off, so they're having to do something new. It's weird, but it also looks like a fun little box.
But at the same time, I mean, it is still ripping off synths, right?
Yeah.
DX7 on steroids with a CS.
Accelerate the program somewhat by doing 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just putting all their clones into one place and everything like that. And on the one hand, yes, Behringer, another ripoff, another clone, another one. They're not making anything new, and they're always quite controversial. Whenever we talk about them, there's always that debate over the ethical practices of cloning synthesizers and making cheap versions of it. Very fair, very valid, good point. But at the same time, we've seen from like Moog, for example, where these big boutique expensive synthesizers are just not kind of as successful as they once were. The market's not there. The market has changed since that point. They've got lots of 15, 16-year-olds making their first beats. They can't afford $2,000, $3,000 synthesizers. And this is a lovely way to allow that creative expression without breaking the bank, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there is that involved. And this is 3 synthesizers in one. This looks quite nice,
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a simplification as well. I mean, people talk about the market like it's one thing, but I mean, in reality, there are several markets here, aren't there? I mean, people who want boutique synthesizers are not necessarily going to be buying budget small things, but sometimes you do overlap. I mean, I'm a customer in both regards, and I still like little boxes, groove boxes that will fit on a tabletop or are easy to take live or into a field or whatever, as we've discussed before. So, I mean, there's always a market for something, and it's the fact that there are lots of different markets and different entry points that keep these things alive. I must admit, though, I never thought if only I had a CS80, a DX7, and a drum machine in one box.
You didn't even know you need it, but now you need it.
I mean, there might be people out there that go, at last.
This is everything I needed.
But I guess it's small as well. I mean, it looks small. And it does multiple things. I think that's probably a good thing, as long as they're done well and it doesn't break.
This is like, I think you said it the other day, somewhere about your Behringer that you've got there, for example, which is a clone, and it's cheap as anything, but it works, and it's pretty similar to.
It's not cheap as anything. It was like $300. That's cheap for a synth, but it's not cheap as anything.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. The point stands in that regard is that it's almost similar to the classic synthesizer it is in its own right. And
we've talked about this before, where I mean, maybe this is just you and I being guitarists, right? And coming from the whole like Fender, Squier, Gibson, Epiphone, or I should probably flip those around: Squier, Fender, Epiphone, Gibson, where it's like you can get these lower end beginners type guitars that have concessions and things like that, but they are clones and owned by the company that makes like the Gibson Les Paul or the Fender Stratocaster. Like the coveted instruments are there, and if you have the money, you can buy that, and you should get like really good quality. But if you're a beginner or you need to spend less at the point or something, you can get these lower tiers. And then what's also cool is like Fender will make a lower end made in Mexico or made in I forget where else they make it, but they make these lower end Stratocasters that are slightly less, and then so there's like all these different tiers to get to, the premium model. And sometimes you don't really need it, or it's not really worth it. But I always wish that these synth companies could do that too. And it's like Moog kind of has that market where they have these cheaper analog replicas of these synths that people want, which are either very high end and are still being made, or are vintage synths that are on the secondhand market for thousands of dollars, and then you get these for like $300. So I would love to see these companies make these lower end versions and then offer these high end models like a guitarist. And Roland kind of does, to their credit, with these digital virtual analog boxes. But like I was saying to Curtis in that conversation he's referring to, like, I wanted the analog SH-101, not a virtual analog little box that has no keyboard, you know. And those are cool. They sound great and stuff. They're polyphonic, which is great. But like, I wanted this to be a fixture on my desk. And it's like they could have these tiers. They could have a plugin that's the lowest one, but has a lot of options, but it's all digital and on your computer. They could have the little digital box. Then they could have a lower end analog model and then the high end model. That's like what I've always wanted to see.
Yeah. Completely.
Sorry for the tangent, but you brought it up and I wanted to.
No, it's a good one. Eonly, what are you going to say?
I just think, I mean, you get these smaller, cheaper things. You sell more units of them, and you make your money that way, or you make some really fancy thing that costs the earth, and you only sell a few, and that's the intention, right? That's the business model. There's room for all of this, surely.
Yeah, democratization of synthesizers for every man, of every human kind.
And cat
for the people, you know, synthesizers for the people, for all. That should be the motto that we have moving forward. Synthesis for everyone. That'd be a good, nice way of going forward. But yeah, there's not much on the gear front. There was just after we solidified, so to speak, our docket for the week. Cherry Audio had a very interesting release.
Yeah, and there's also a new one from AudioKit, the iOS app.
Yeah,
they did the retro synth that we covered and King of FM, and they've got a new one, King of Bass, that looks really cool.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. Hopefully,
liking the sound of that.
Yeah, I figured you would.
So there's a lot of things going on there. But if there's anything that you guys have seen, either listening back or in the chat or anything like that, what's taken your fancy this week? We'd like to see what you've been interested in. It was quite a slow week for gear and stuff, but let us know if there's anything we've missed. We will be hopefully talking about Cherry Audio a bit more next week, and as well as AudioKit, but we'll have to see for that one.
Yeah. And now we can move quickly to the last bit, which is the round robin, and I'll let Curtis explain it. But I just also want to say, let us know what your take is on threads and all this, and if you want us to cover more things like this, deep dives into certain social media practices for it, things like that, let us know. I totally just bumped my desk, so my whole screen jolted. Sorry for that, but just keeping you on your toes, you know. Curtis is helping out right there. But yeah, let us know if you like these kinds of topics. This was a patron request. A lot of our patrons wanted us to cover this app, so yeah, we always want to help our patrons and figure this stuff out for ourselves and for everyone. It's just interesting. But Curtis, what is the round robin? Because we didn't have one last week, so we missed it.
Well, the round robin is that in my humble opinion, is the epitome of that notion of Together We Grow. It is that discursive section of the show where we bring a topic for discussion, and as musicians peer to peer, we discuss it and give our thoughts, see where we're at, share our ideas, in the hope that there is some tidbits of information for anyone listening to take away, learn from, grow, and do something like that. So we might talk about gear, we might talk about mixing techniques, we might talk about marketing, we might talk about existential crises of the self when it comes to artistic expression of the soul,
or even our favorite kick.
Yeah.
I like that.
And yeah,
the dichotomy of man, right? I guess.
Exactly. Everything, big, small, everything to do with the production process. It's a forum for us to share and to discuss things as a group. And
this is also the time where our patrons are welcome to come on and hang out with us and share their tidbits on this and their opinions. Yeah. What are we talking about today? Because there actually is a really interesting comment in the chat that I want to share to start it. But you brought this to the table, so bring it up and then I'll start us with that.
Well, this is what I call a state of the field show, or state of the field. I do these in my own little production. I just kind of see where the land lies. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to discuss anything. Or, sorry, I'm not trying to kind of advance any notion of any idea. I just want to see where everyone is at, just so we can get this kind of like almost like a list and this idea of kind of where everyone's sitting in their idea, and to move forward when you've got a collective. It's like getting a deck of cards and just throwing it onto the Vegas table and going, how about that? Let's have a look at all of that. Let's have a look at all 52, you know. So seeing as we've had the growth of social media, we have another social media platform, Threads, that obviously we've been discussing. I just wanted to get a state of the field for everyone's kind of demeanor, or everyone's kind of current position when it comes to the social media, quote unquote, game. There is, I know there are some people who are doing, who are playing the algorithm games. There are other people who are leading like survey channels, kind of doesn't know where he's going with that kind of thing. But I'd like for us to all kind of vocalize as much as we can and much as we're willing to, just to see where we're at. If anyone, this is the reason for this, is for anyone who's a bit lost in the social media game, trying to find their space, trying to find authenticity in their expression. Maybe they can find it together. Maybe they can find it together. Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring, it was another point. It's not exactly one-to-one on this, but I just wanted to go back to that whole viral isn't really worth it. And Survey Channel mentioned that my viral post about finding a Casio SK10 at a thrift store amounted to nothing. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of probably where kind of all the sentiment we've been sharing about social media and things like that would be. And I want to also, Lars is in the green room, one of our patrons, and I want to get his take on where he's feeling social media, both as an artist and then as a blogger. So Lars, I'm going to pop you on in here. How's it going, Lars?
Oh, that's blue.
Oh, I love that blue.
Oh, wow.
Is it nighttime, or are you just like thriving in darkness today?
He's in his cave.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're muted. Is your mic on, Lars?
It's not muted. We've got no audio.
Yeah.
Got no audio right now.
It's not the plus 48 volts thing, is it?
He says one moment. All right. Well, let's start with Eon Lake then. Eon Lake, what is your take on this? Where's the state of the field, as Curtis said?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
we got you, Lars. We'll get to you in 1 sec.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say I've let things slide a bit. You know, I'm on Twitter mainly. I do post major events to various platforms, but yeah, I think over the years there's a little bit of personal disenfranchisement with it, but I think it's more just not wanting to overpost, not wanting to overshare, and feeling like, I mean, I've been very time constrained, and I want that time to go towards music and the exploration of music and the journey. And I'm being a bit lazy in that regard, really, because I mean, it's the easy thing to do, it's the fun thing to do, and it's all these other things that maybe aren't so much fun, but are useful and maybe part and parcel of it all. I try and keep the social media social, you know, i.e. following people, seeing what they're up to, seeing what's going on, seeing what gigs I need to get to and things like that. But yeah, and I'm not a poster boy for how to do social media in any way. And I will ramp things up when I'm about to release something and so on. So at least my accounts will, if you're interested in knowing what I'm doing, that stuff is on there. You know, it just might be a bit spaced out and so on. But, yeah, it's something I plan to come back to and do more of. I want to do more videos of just, you know, the process and, you know, actually doing stuff live rather than this is something I already did sort of content. But, yeah, I mean, I'm certainly by no means, I'm a good measure of how not to do it. If you want to check my social media accounts out.
I'm still waiting for your live set to go up. I mean, I've got it. You sent it to me, but the people need it. All right.
Well, yeah, it will be going up. This is difficult.
I would like that as well.
Yeah.
If we're going over. Yeah.
Well, like me.
But that in its own right, you say you're not the poster boy, but like that is a very decent way of doing social media. That is a perfectly fine and ready piece of way to do social media. Do things.
It's still very much
release
me.
come up. Yeah, and it's very authentic, and that's fair enough in its own right.
Lars, what about you? Where's your where's everything lying for you in terms of social media, both as the artist and then as the blogger?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let me answer that in two parts, actually. So
Yeah.
as a blogger, I love social media. It has been really great. Like I've been able to get like so much more exposure for the blog, and I feel a lot more comfortable sharing stuff because at the end of the day, I'm just sharing other people's stuff and trying to give air to like what other people are doing.
Oh,
So
hold
that's
on
really
there, Lars.
cool.
We got some real heavy static from you.
Oh no.
Your microphone is like tripping.
Oh great. Well, this is wonderful.
That's okay. It's all right.
It's
All right.
okay for
Can
now.
you hear me any better there?
It's okay
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good now? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, like I was saying, as a blogger, I love social media. I've been able to reach, like, really expand my reach quite a bit. Hi, hon. I've been able to really expand my
She's
reach.
like, who are
quite
you
a bit.
talking to?
Oh yeah, no, my wife. She's, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I've been able to expand my reach, and at the end of the day, I feel really comfortable as a blogger using social media because at the end of the day, I'm just sharing other people's things. I'm really trying to give air to like what other people are doing out there.
Yeah.
So, TikTok, Instagram, all of it been super useful for that. As an artist, I hate social media. I hate it so much because it's just the feeling of like you make something, you actually put like a whole bunch of effort into it. You put it out there and it's just like you get like barely any response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like for instance, on my blog on TikTok, I've literally just been making these short little comp together videos of like the reviews I do and like putting it with the music and all that. And they're getting like hundreds of views and at least several likes on each one. But, I put something out there. It's just like, oh, well, I have some new music coming out. And it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah. I know what you mean. There kind of has to be like,
Yeah.
they always say is like a story around it or something to generate that kind of, I mean, it's a bummer, but it does kind of make sense if you're just like, here's music. It's like, well, I need a reason. I'm not saying me, but like someone maybe like I need a reason to like latch onto it. Whereas with the blog, I guess it's also like kind of building that community and that is the story. And you're sharing the story of an artist, right? So yeah, that's really interesting, the two different takes, because it makes complete sense, like the and also that whole like your own personal, like as a blogger, you love to share stuff and you love social media, but then when it comes to you having that, it's interesting. Curtis, what about you? I know you've kind of already shared it, but what's your lay of the land right now, state of the field, as you say?
Yeah, just to expand on what I was saying before, it's the a lot of the face-to-face stuff I do, or the weekly stuff I do, is through Audionautic. Like when we share on Audionautic and when we do this and when we do like our binary stars and stuff like that, and we do stuff for the patrons and stuff like that. And that is what in a similar way to Lars, that's what I really get a kick out of, because that's building that community. And that's kind of where I want to put my effort when it comes to social media. The stuff that I make and the stuff as Curtis, again, I've kind of come to that notion of, I mean, I'll do promotional campaigns in a similar fashion to Eon Lake when I have a release coming out and things like that. But the week in, week out grind, in inverted commas, where like I'm trying to hit all the right keywords and algorithms, it takes a lot for me to. I do half the work for Audionautic, and that's already too much for my tiny monkey chimp brain. And then to take that and put that in my own work as well, it's just a bit much. When again, similar to Eon Lake, if I've got an hour, I want to be creating, I want to be doing that, and so. But also I want it to be an honest expression. Like there's lots, and we don't see it and we don't talk about it as much, but there are lots of YouTube channels, for example, which they don't post exceedingly often, but when they do, it's absolute gold, for example. Exturbia is the channel that springs to mind with that one. Exturbia is an absolutely fantastic YouTube channel where he posts like once every couple of months, but everything he makes is gold, and it's beautiful and it's magical and it's one of a kind. And I'm not Exturbia by any stretch of the imagination, but that's kind of where I want to kind of head in that direction, like I said. So like the artwork that I make, the thumbnails that I make for my live streams, I want that to be a true, authentic expression of what I want to do, as opposed to my face going, and then kind of go, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I do that for Audionautic, and I do that, and I'm comfortable with that because I'm promoting essentially this community.
Do you think it's the blogger artist thing, like Lars is saying?
It's the same thing, yeah. As for my for example, my latest thumbnail for my live stream after this show is this woman sitting on a toadstool in the middle of an enchanted forest, and that's trippy, and that's kind of nice, and it's like it's cute. And I kind of like that, and because that also means that once a week in my own creative workflow, once a week, I'm forced to sit down, go through Pexels and Pixabay and all that stuff, and cut things out and make a collage and stuff. I got out of that habit recently, so like I want to get back into that. So that's kind of using it in that regard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Oh, you're muted, Lars.
I swear I know how to use technology. I promise.
It's all right, man. Don't worry about it.
No, but I had a question for Curtis. Do you ever feel like with Audionautic and then like the music you make, like you're feeling that like definite comparison between like making art and making content?
Yeah. There is that definitive notion, and I'm very, very comfortable. Like, for example, for when we had FCC on for his album, I was very comfortable taking his art and making content because I wanted to give that the best platform, or we wanted to give it the best platform that we could. So someone put all his energy into the mastering. I put all my energy into the social media, like the reels and stuff like that, because that was to elevate and give an expression to that artistic piece. And I like doing that. I like serving. It's like Dharma, I suppose, in that regard. But then when it comes to mine is the art, and it's in a similar vein of like putting it out there. I get a little bit. I told you, like when I had the interview with you, when it comes to me, like I put my album out, and I'm like, because it's to me that's not who I am. I'm not authentic. I'm not someone who shouts about me. I'm someone who tends to shout about. I know I'm saying a lot of eyes, and that's ironic, but like generally speaking, that someone who likes to shout about my own work. I want people to kind of find it for themselves, because I'm just an alien space chimp, and I don't really matter, and it's about other people. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's the same issue I have, like doing like fringes and doing my work, because it's like I don't feel like really shouting about my work all the time. It's just like, hey, here's some Bandcamp codes, here's a freebie, Yeah, but then it feels very easy when it comes to fringes, because it's just like I can just talk about other people's work all the time. People ask me, "Hey, can you describe your own work?" It's weird.
But that brings up another interesting one. Because, for example, the interview that I had with you a couple of months ago, that was the first time I'd actually sat down and someone had actually sat down and asked me about my creative process and about that. And that was a nice platform for me to be on, because again, that was happening for the first time, right? And then so that's more comfortable to me. You reached out to me and said, hey, come on the show, that kind of thing. That's okay. But when it's my platform and it's my show, I'm like, I'll put me in the background. If someone wants to come to me and they want to find out more, I'll talk about gear till the end of time. But it's got to come from an external place in that regard, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. The shameless self-promotion is difficult for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how other people do it. Other people will just talk about themselves nonstop. Not that I don't talk about myself, because I think I'm pretty cool, but I don't know. You guys are probably like, man, well, this guy.
It's easier, though, isn't it? It's easier to be honest about how you feel about other people's work than it is to be about your own. I mean, we all try and do stuff we like, obviously, but it's just easier to talk about other people. Definitely.
I agree.
Much
yes.
Nicer. Yeah, much nicer. How can I serve? Pay it forward, that kind of thing. Sunwhopper, where are you sitting with it?
I guess
he's in a different world.
Quite differently.
You're in a different world, though. You're in a different world to us.
I was gonna say though. I mean, I used to feel like that. I mean, I used to just look. Let's go to 2015 when I was making like weird post rock stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with weird post rock stuff. No. I loved making. It was like distorted guitars, like Siamese Dream from Smashing Pumpkins, mixed with like, the calm stuff and all that ambient things and stuff like that. But I would, because it was really just Facebook at the time for me, but I would look at that post probably like for 3 days, like proofreading. I mean, it's like a little post, like here's my new song, blah blah blah, and I could not post it because I just hated the idea of like that. And I think for me personally, a lot of that was imposter syndrome and just like value, like my own value of my music and being. Is that the pupper?
Yeah, there's something he wants to bark at. Let me
That's
just.
all right. We love dogs. Maybe the other side of the screen doesn't, but this side love dogs. Anyways, it was on my part. It was a lot of like imposter syndrome, and I don't know. I really wanted to be able to just share something, and and I'm sorry, I got distracted seeing Lars needing to go. No worries, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to just post. I don't like posting like here's a new song just for no reason. I like to have some sort of story behind it, and then I really like to just post either tutorials or interesting things I'm doing. Like the latest video I did was using the Bliss voices that we got for Audionaut. I made a full song using just my voice and seeing like, can I make drums? Like how embarrassing can I get with this? But also, and 2014 me, who took like 4 days to look at a Facebook post, would never even think of filming this.
Never been beatboxing.
It was so. I mean, I was literally in this video like, God, this is so embarrassing. But I was like, no, I want to share this. Like, let's share the embarrassing part. Let's like show, even with this crappy beatbox, you could turn it into these drums that are massive and can hit. And that's what I really like doing, is sharing a story. I just see the dog coming. Sharing a story behind it. And I think that's what kind of got me over my imposter syndrome. And just like we all, like Ian like was saying about being our authentic self, that's what we have to offer. And that's what helped me get over this imposter syndrome, is knowing that I'm all of my experiences and lifetime put together, which is unique to just me. And so I have something to share. And if people want to watch it, if they don't, if they want to buy it, if they don't, I mean, it's awesome when they do, and it means the world to me that they do. But, you know, I can't control whether they watch it or not. I just feel like I made something worth sharing, and I want to just share it. And whoever wants to watch it is welcome to.
Yeah. I mean, everyone makes value judgments. And like you say, they're going to do that anyway. You know, you do what you want to do, and hopefully it finds a voice. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of people either. Just
was it 1,000 true followers or 10,000?
That's the thing. If you can find them.
Yeah. And one other thing that has really changed my approach, getting back, I guess we kind of all have slightly gone on a tangent into the more like existential use of social media. But one thing that I found very helpful for social media and managing it realistically is setting on my iPhone time limits to how long you can, even for statistic things like Spotify for artists, YouTube for artists, setting time limits on my iPhone and even the computer and stuff for how long I can be on it. So I can't just constantly check the stats if I wanted to, but it's not good to, because there's no point in it. But for social media too, like I have 15 minutes a day spread across all the platforms to get what I need done. So answer things, post things, do that. And then I mean, yes, you can click it and say, give me 15 more minutes. And like for dealing with the patron groups and stuff, sometimes I need to do that, but it's worth it because it's awesome to talk with the patrons and all that. But it's like just another, like the first thing I did when I was starting this was I put all of the social media apps and stats on the furthest page of my phone. So I'd have to scroll 3 or 4 pages to get to it. Right. So little difficulties to make me not want to go on it. But then when I need to, I can. And then finally, I did this time limit thing, and that's just changed my whole approach to it, because it's like I get this time and I can get it done. And then if I have to do something, I can go on the computer to do it. But it's like these minor inconveniences that add up to kind of like become more of a healthy way of using these social media apps and things like that.
That's the thing. It's a healthier relationship with it.
Yeah.
And irrespective of the time, it's also the way that you're approaching it, isn't it? It's a discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm sorry, Lars, really quick. I want to share what a patron wrote in the text. Shady Ridge says, as a label owner, I do need to keep the social platform active to a point, but as artist, I have similar feelings like Lars. It's definitely a bit of work. Half the time you think you've wasted some time. Lars, you were going to say, but I thought that was a good way to segue it back to you.
Yeah, that is a good point. So you were talking about like the the app or the setting where you can limit how much time that you have on social media, but you can click the like, oh, give me another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Does it give you like a little sense of shame or anything if you ever have to hit the extra 15 minutes or anything? Like,
no, not really.
okay.
I mean, maybe for someone. This is, I can only answer from my own like self experience of it, but I mean, like usually if I'm doing that, it's for a reason. Like, oh crap, I forgot to post this. That was supposed to be done on this, because I try to post each thing like on all the social media in the same day. And I'll be like, oh, I forgot that, or oh, I should probably check like if there's a response, or like if it's like something we're doing with patrons at the time, or the patron chat is really lively. I'll be like, yeah, let me check a couple times to like, you know, keep up with the chat and all that. So yeah, and I even do this with Discord. I have a limit on the, so it's all those apps are the same 15-minute like timer.
Oh, wow.
So it's not the artist one, that's its own. So I have like all the artist analytics are its own 15 minutes, and then all the social media is its own 15 minutes. So Discord, Threads, which doesn't really get open much, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, if I even use it. But those are all in that 15-minute thing. And so, yeah.
It just kind of sounds like the way you're describing is like, oh, it's like trying to quit smoking. Like, oh, I feel a little bad every time I have one, but I keep doing it.
No, I really don't. Like it's just for me to not be on it for unnecessary reasons throughout the day. Cause I don't really think being on social media and just doing endless scrolling and stuff is the best use of my time, when I could just be making music, or I could be on an iPhone iOS app that's like, King of FM, you know, the free audio kit app, like that, making music, like triggering, like working my brain and the neurons and firing those things, or watching YouTube videos about music or something, you know, or one of my hobbies, something like that. Like, I feel like there's better uses of my time. And so I use social media for what I need to, for responding to comments, things like that. And then it's done. And then if I really need to, I can open it and do more, but it's like, it's just adding those little difficulties that I don't.
The thing is, when you're doing that, you're doing it consciously as well. And if you do decide to spend more time on it, it's a decision. It's not, you start
doing
a habit
and
you get into it. And exactly. It's all just this is what I'm planning to do. You're allowed to change your plans. You're allowed to change your mind. But at the same time,
like autonomy, right? Giving yourself. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. That's why I don't try to spend much time on Twitter anymore, because I just start doing the doom scroll, and it's like, oh, this is getting worse.
Until you get rate limited, right?
I love the fact that I got rate limited. It's like, okay, cool, I can put this away now.
I'm curious, chat, if you have any takes on this. I know we had a little bit from Survey Channel earlier, and Shady Ridge in there, but if anybody else has an opinion on this, where you're kind of how you're using social media, and in the comments if you're watching back, what is your way of using social media? Has anyone tried this limiting thing that I do? Am I crazy for doing it? I don't know. It's really helped me, and I'd be curious if anybody who watches this does try it. Let me know. Let us know on if patrons. Let us know in the patron group if you try it. If anyone needs help setting it up, let me know. Just DM me on Twitter, or it may take a day to see it, because I might be out of my 15 minutes, but I'll get back to you, I swear.
It's a good way of doing it, because, like, as you say, like as you do it full time, and as you kind of limit it in your own way, you're taking that control, you're using it as a tool. It's a really good insight to have. So yeah, thank you for sharing that one.
It also means you got to get it done in that time, right?
It also means you got to get it done.
So it's like you go there and you know what you're doing. Like, okay, I'm responding to comments. I've got 5 minutes for that. Not stress yourself out, because you can always extend it. But it's like, I got 5 minutes for this, 10 minutes for that, you know, and I'm done. Boom.
Yeah, that's
limitations. Cool. How many times have we said it?
Yeah, it's true.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, people listening back in the chat and on everyone watching back will see or hopefully take something away from this as well. That was the notion of this round robin, is to kind of see where we're all at kind of with our social media. It's not as easy these days. 2-3 years ago, when we were starting Audionautic, you know, there was so many kind of like, you know, hacks and top tips for growing on Instagram. And that the whole point of it was, this is a tool in which you can grow. And now it's not so easy, especially within our niche. And it's caused this divergence of methodology, of mindset, of strategy, of discipline. And so it's okay. Every single one of them is okay. Every single one of them is valid, and every single one of them is worth doing. So it's good to share and see where everyone's at.
Yeah. And that's it for this. Before we go, I do want to ask everybody what we're all up to this week. So let's start with Curtis, because he wasn't here last week. So we know you're doing a live stream.
Yeah.
You may have mentioned it once or twice today, but
Maybe once, twice.
that's over on your channel at Curtis on YouTube, right? At what, 1:45?
Yeah, about 50. Yeah. So 10:30 my time. So what? That's 21:30 UTC.
Oh man, I can't do military time.
It's 21:30.
That's great.
Lars will tell you all about that. Yeah, thank you. I built that template about 3-4 weeks ago. Completely forgot what's in there. Gonna open it up for the first time. So this is literally, I have no idea what it is or what's going down. So
that's exciting. And Ian, what do you have? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Curtis.
No. That's it. I was gonna say it's gonna be. That's it. There's nothing. I can't wait. It'll be great.
That's gonna be fun. And Ian, what you got going on this week?
I'm still not working in the studio and taking little bits of it out onto my play tray or the dining room table.
Nice.
And shouted at. I'm finding it quite inspiring at the moment to just deep dive into individual instruments. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I've got an EP coming together quite nicely because of that. So I'm going to just go with the flow from now on.
That's perfect. And Lars, what about you? What's going on this week?
Musically, so I actually have an album that I'm putting the finishing touches on. I know a while back I made a video of me playing a 1-string guitar. So I finally have an album based on that, and I'm putting all the little final bits on it, and that should be out in August. And then
now there's your story for social media posting.
Yeah. And then I'm also working on a little EP that I'm trying to start right now, because I'm going to have a whole month of September. I'm going to be out in austere environments. Far away from all the stuff I love. It's great. It's going to be great. Then I hope to have this EP come out probably about the week or so after I get back. So,
okay.
And then aside from that, reviews and cleaning my house, because got 2 kids, always got to clean your house.
Yeah.
Wait for it, son.
I know. I'm like, oh no. Oh no, it's coming fast. Yeah.
What are you doing, Sunwhopper?
Let's see. So I finally got the live set announced that I'm doing over on my Bandcamp. It's going to be all 4, which no one's heard the 4th Forever Becoming track yet. It's written for this, but it's all 4 Forever Becoming tracks. And then I do some little interludes, just shredding on the guitar between them. But it's been really fun piecing it all together. And I shared some of the actual live set. Yeah, I'll be doing my teeth, biting the guitar. It's clean guitar tones though, so it sounds terrible when you do that. but I showed the page. Well, I showed everyone actually last week on the live stream, the live setup with the DAW moving into the hardware. I got it all working. I don't want to jinx it, but it has been working. So all the patrons, you'll be getting an invite with the email that you gave through Patreon. It'll be a Bandcamp invite to the live stream. It's going to be Sunday the 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is the time that we do Audionautic Deep Space Network on Wednesdays, but it'll be on Sunday. It's been a lot of fun to make, and it's meant a lot because all of these songs have been made during significant moments. Right before I got married, I made the first 2. Right when I found out I was having my first child, I wrote this 3rd one, and then the 4th one was in all of this. So it means a lot to me. So it's been a very special set to build. So I just can't wait to share it with everybody.
Yeah, he does awesome. First, he wants to do it twice. Wait for it.
Well, someone says they want to, so
we'll have to see.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
Thing.
That live stream is going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's on your Bandcamp, isn't it? So
so if you go to sunwarper.bandcamp.com, you'll see it. I think it's under the merch, but it might be under live sets, but it's there. It's Forever Becoming 1 through 4 ambient live set. That's what it's called. So
it's gonna be fun. The Sunday after is our Patreon hangout for July, I believe. Last Sunday of the month.
Correct. Yeah.
It's been summer. People have been away and doing things, and so things keep moving around.
Living lives.
Living lives.
How dare lives get in the way of nerdy synth talk, right?
It's sacrilege. That's what it is.
It can't win long term.
It's not sustainable, all right?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. So yeah, that is our final piece of news. Just a shout out to our patrons. Last Sunday of July, we'll all be there in Discord. And if you listening back are not a patron and you want to get involved in some nerdy synth talk, come be a patron. It starts at $2, and it's great fun, really good fun.
Yeah.
You imagine this world where you start talking about arpeggiators and people don't roll their eyes.
No, people actually know what you're talking about and get excited for you. They're like, whoa! You can do a 3-octave arpeggio on a synth? What?
Polyrhythms are plenty. Let's do this. It's gonna be awesome.
The last thing too that I want to share is we are getting very close to 500 likes, follows, whatever on our playlist. Curtis, if you don't mind pulling it up, I just want to share the Audionautic Radio playlist. It's the latest in independent, chill, electronic music. If you've got something that you think might fit, submit it to me on my socials or the Audionautic Twitter, and we'll give it a listen and let you know. But yeah, it's been growing. It's been doing really good. Just like everybody who keeps listening over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to our podcast, like everything just keeps growing, and it means the world to us to share these things with you. And the radio is I guess, I don't know, like us putting Together We Grow in action. That's where we put everybody's music and we can all listen to it and grow. So if you want to listen to this type of music and what we've got on there, check it out. You can find the link in the description.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, we're getting there though. We're almost at 500.
Wow.
Almost at 500. And it was only a couple of weeks ago when you sent a group to the Mandem and said, we're close to 400. And it's like
we're growing exponentially.
We're growing. It's beginning. Yeah, it's great fun. Thank you ever so much for everyone who's tuned in. Lars, wonderful to have you join us.
Twice in a row as well. Brilliant.
Next time, bring the 1 string.
Yeah, bring the 1 string.
I'm not letting you in. No, I'm just if you're not playing it when I let you in, you're not in. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, that's good. So did you have to mic that? I'm assuming there's no pickup on it, right?
There is no pickup. So literally, I just took a directional condenser mic, and I just. So let me see if I can adjust.
Yeah, I got you zoomed in on the camera so we can show it.
Yeah, literally the whole album was just made with me like this, and the microphone is like literally sitting right here in front of me the whole time.
And is it like melodic or is it noise type stuff, kind of in between?
Some of column A, some of column B.
Yeah.
Any column C there too?
I always got to keep it spicy.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that.
Really, really fun Christmas gift one year that I actually managed to do something with.
That's great.
Cool.
No, and I think you've really got. I mean, the art is what matters, but I think just to bring it back to this whole social media thing, like I think that's a really interesting story to share about this album. Like that's something very unique to it. Like it's a 1-string instrument. Did you build that? Did you say that actual thing, or did you buy it?
No, I did not build this one myself. My mom and my sister actually went together on a Christmas gift for me, and they had it custom built by a guy who lives out in like Shawnee, Oklahoma, and just makes nothing but these cigar box guitars and 1-string guitars.
That's awesome. But that's still like that's the story. It's very interesting. Like I want to hear this just from you being like, I made the whole album with this 1-string guitar. I'm like, I'm sold. Just give me that thing. So I think just bring it back
on private right now, so I'll send you guys some Bandcamp codes so you can.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to it. But I'm just saying, like, to bring it back to this whole, social media share. If I saw that on Twitter, I'd be click right away. Like if I saw made this whole album on a 1-string guitar, and like maybe you do a video of you playing it, like the one you said that you had done before. Like, I'd be listening to that right away.
All right, it did well on TikTok, but I don't know. TikTok is so fucking hit or miss.
TikTok is crazy, man. TikTok is the algorithm varies per video, so it's very hit or miss. Yeah,
very chaotic.
Everything about it's chaotic. My daughter will sit there and watch it for like hours, and I'm like, "How is your brain not fried right now? Like, I need to take your phone right now."
I get that.
Yeah.
We will be back next week, back to full strength. And we're back going through. We got lots of stuff to go. Any final words, gents? Anything moving on?
No, I think that's
for me. Just a big thank you to anyone who's been listening.
Yeah, He absolutely loves
Oh,
it.
I should say, unless we're not going to do it now, if we've changed our minds, this all falls on Curtis because I'm putting it on him on the spot. We said we were going to test out this episode, that we were going to unlist the live stream and then post it as a video to see how it does.
Yes,
Chat patrons, let us know your thoughts. But Curtis, what do you think? Where are you sitting?
I think, I think it's a good shout. We're all about the experimentation here in a similar form to Threads, where we kind of roll things out.
We're gonna rush this out.
We're gonna rush this out, get ahead of the game. Bring you along for the ride. We want to see. We want to just see what happens if we remove this live stream video, and then we take the recording of that and then post that as a video on YouTube. We know that the YouTube algorithms don't favor live streaming events. We know this. We want to test this. So we want to see if that's going. So that's what we thought about started doing a month ago. We don't want to know. That's what we're planning to do. We want to know if that's something that you guys listening back would be interested in. So we test over the next couple of weeks and then report back to you.
And I think this is a good episode to test, because what we really want to test is how the algorithm works with this, putting something up, because long form content that is a video compared to that's a live stream drastically differs in terms of life or shelf life, and views and algorithmic recommendations. And so Threads is being searched right now, so technically it's algorithmically relevant. And so I think this is a good episode to test it on. So we're going to give it a shot. So if you do see it pop up on your feeds, subscribers, open it, give it a like, watch a couple minutes. That is a key metric for the algorithm. If you'd like to help, we would greatly appreciate it.
We'll be back next week with more shenanigans and some gear talk. Thank you ever so much. Once again, lovely to hang out with everyone in the chat. Everyone, lovely listening back. Love you. Appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, and maybe next week, real quick, Eon Lake can give us, he gave us a social media food. Now we need synths as food. So think about it, Eon Lake, and we'll figure it out. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.